as your chairperson and timekeeper, Mary. Our motion today is this House believes that progressive political parties and candidates should refuse to accept donations for corporations and high-net individuals. Today, teams will be competing in this room are from the opening government, from Composite A, first speaker Adit, second speaker Lia. Closing government, Composite B, first speaker Firman and second speaker Vira. Opening opposition, FKA, first speaker Juliana and second speaker Gabriel. And closing opposition, Composite D, with first speaker Fajrin and second speaker Farid. Without further ado, I open this debate by calling speaker of the order. I call the first speaker of the opening government, Mr. Adit. Time is yours.
Tes. Assalamualaikum. Panels, as the opening government side of the House, our stand is very clear, right? We believe that independency and stick to the root of our progressive parties or candidates, fellows, is a must, ladies and gentlemen. And before I jump to my speeches, I will set this debate into the scenario where this let's say happens in Indonesia, because we are already facing the political we are facing the political we're celebrating political months in Indonesia, right? So, what is the progressive political parties or these political candidates? Let's say simpler political spectrums. Like this political spectrum is a whole value to protect different layers of society, including people who are part of marginalized people who are underdeveloped, and also people that have a limited rights into in the state. On their finance support, this spectrum usually get the support from the other individuals, from their members that are not from high-net individuals. So what is high-net individuals that we think in this debate? High-net individuals, what we mean is that people that have a big power or a big source of capital, that this individual is also usually have an interest, have their own interest, have their own value, have their own values. So we think that the problem that if we take this donation is that accepting the donations from this individual or this for this company will most likely have us to follow the same value or the same interest as their as this individual or this company uphold in the first place. So jumping to my argument that there are one argument that I think in this debate there is justification on how these donations cannot have a long-term impact for this political spectrum. We see that in the status quo right now there are many progressive political parties in Indonesia, such as PSI and etc. PSI in the status quo glorify and uphold the value that they oppose the patriarchy value, or also oppose all the margin or support the marginalized people from different layers in society, such as they are glorifying the anti-polygamy value and etc. As we can see, this political part as we can see that these values is actually are not the general because as we see in the status quo right now, PSI also receive backlash from majority majority people in Indonesia, especially that are coming from the conservative community, community in Indonesia, and this is already being a burden to this to all the progressive fellow, and but they are stick to their roots, and they are keep glorifying their anti-patriarchy values that this PSI uphold in the first place. So we think that because this company or people that have hacked individuals power wants to give them donations, wants to give them a source of capital. We think this is a very bad to the existence of this progressive party. Why, ladies and gentlemen? Because we think that this political party will follow the values or follow the interest of these people that giving them the donations. Why? Because this spectrums giving them sort of capital. They make their these political parties or political individuals more alive, accommodate their campaign and etc. Because there is sense of relativity, there's a sense of relativity that this political party will have in the end of the day, because they are feel guilty if they don't repay what this individuals or hacknet or company give them in the very first place. So we think that this is if that we believe that this donation in the short term will accommodate all this political spectrums needs. Yes, we are. Yes, we believe on that point. But on that long-term process, we think that this is a very, very harmful for this progressive political party. Why? Because we believe that on our political anomaly in Indonesia right now, people have not always stick to the one values, right? People keep changing their values, and keep changing their values and keep changing their values and have a new values every year and or every time. So if this company or if this high individual values in the end of the later on change their values or etc. We think that we think that this is we think that that is very, very risky. We think that this political party will have a risky situation and will stumbling upon down will be stumbling down because they don't have any more income or anyone they can donate to their parties. So to conclude my speech, we believe that this donation will most likely harm the independency and also the existence of this progressive political parties, and also give the and also hampering the value that we uphold in the very first place. Vote for opening government.
Mr. Adit spent 7 minutes and 34 seconds. Now I call the first speaker of the opening opposition, Ms. Juliana. Time is yours.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, basically, a political party needs a people inside the party and also a people who will give them vote, ladies and gentlemen. And in order to gain a vote from the society, they need to be they need to be bigger than before, ladies and gentlemen, because and they need to shout out their aspiration, their aspiration too. And we think that collab with those organization or corporation and high net individual will give them support and will give them a way to gain more voters from the society, ladies and gentlemen. So what do we want in opposition side? We want these progressive political parties and candidates should accept the donation from corporation and high net individuals, because we believe we want to support the progressive political parties that have a positive vision and mission and will bring a new value to the country, ladies and gentlemen. But before I'm going to my one substantive, I'm going to through several rebuttals toward the government side. They try to argue about if it will be harmful or it will not have a long-term impact for those progressive political parties if they accept the donation from those corporations. Because they will follow the organization who donate them. We think that yes, of course it will, because the moment they agree to accept the donation is the moment they agree to collab with those organizations, ladies and gentlemen. And we think that those political party, when they the moment they agree to collab, we think that they need a process to process and long process to think that if those corporations that have whether they have the same mission and vision or not with those political parties, ladies and gentlemen. So we think that it is okay and it's supposed to be like that, ladies and gentlemen. And now I'm going to my substantives, that why it is justifiable for those progressive political parties to accept the donation from corporation and the high net individual. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a progressive political party is the party that still need a people to vote them, right? They need to collab or something like that in order to balance with the other bigger parties in that country, ladies and gentlemen. And they also need to do campaign promotion publication just like the other bigger party, ladies and gentlemen. And we think that they can do that if they have sufficient amount of money. We think that they must spend a lot of money, which is we think that it will not enough if they only use their internal amount of money, ladies and gentlemen. We think it is different when we want to compare them with those bigger party who actually doesn't need the donation anymore because their internal is more than enough, ladies and gentlemen. We think that in order to develop this progressive political party, government should not interfere in the way they want to be developed. As long as they don't bias from their goal, we think it's okay for them to do such thing in order to reach their goal. For the example, PSI, we think we all know that PSI is the new party, right? That just joined the politics, right, this year. But we think we all know that PSI has collaborated with some millennial organization. Why? Because it is their concept, ladies and gentlemen. PSI need to gain more voters, and their target is the millennial, so that they have to collab with those millennial organization in order to gain more vote. And we can deny that maybe PSI have also received the money from those millennial organization, but we think it is okay because it is their goal, ladies and gentlemen. It is their target, and we think that in this situation, PSI know who is their target, and we think that PSI choose the right organization with same mission and vision, so that when they join, when they are chosen by the voters, we think that and in the end the PSI PSI will give those millennial organization what they want in the very first place, because it is their vision and mission too, ladies and gentlemen. So we think that it is okay if those progressive political parties want to accept the donation from corporation and high net individual, because we believe that they have already think about it before they receive that donation. Thank you. We proud to oppose.
Ms. Juliana spends 5 minutes and 55 seconds. Now I call the second speaker of the opening government, Ms. Lia. Time is yours.
You have to also have an external influential backup in order for you to be able to stand your ground. But moreover, many companies and many individuals like to consider that being socially aware is marketable, right? This is to say that they will always need exchange of information between the progressive politicians, and then in what way they should identify and direct people in a way that is politically progressive. For example, they will eventually, for example, like these corporations in they will eventually serve goods and services that are looked up by the progressive society. For example, this means that they will eventually reach out to a certain segment of society that to begin with are pretty progressive, but they don't subscribe to these corporations, because these corporations are seen pretty ignorant in the process that they're.
The opposition side of the house seems like just telling us like the way to gain vote, the gain to this progressive political party to become more developed is from getting the donation from such a sufficient amount of money. But what they are lacking is that what we need to understand is that the democracy that we held, the value of democracy that we held in Indonesia is that what makes what is the parameter of the political party to have to become much more bigger is that they need to accommodate society as a accommodate society more and more. They need to ensure that society knows about them. We said that they are very just telling us about from money we can do commercial TV ads and so on and so forth. But we said that it is okay. It is the culture of the political thing that even if you are just small political party, but it is okay for you to announcing and promoting your political party by traditional way. We said that it is okay for you to go to society and tell them what is your interest and why you can accommodate those value that this society have. And we say it is okay for you. We said that, and they also lacking of saying that we do have the internal or capital sources. We said that there are member regular fee, there are donation coming up from society that cares, and also not including as people from corporation or high net individual. There are internal income source, and we said it is enough because what makes because it will make sure the value of independency that this political party sticks on at the very first place. We said that they also not saying really telling us about the interest that this corporation or high net individual have. We said that they want to give you a donation not just for free. They have their own interest, and this is very harmful. They never really telling us why their interest will not be harmful towards this progressive political party. Jumping on to my argument, which is integrated to my rebuttal, which is I will tell you that why this independency that this progressive political party or candidates have is the one that most important, rather than you have to go and follow the value that this high net or corporation have. We said that society will this political party, this small political party, will become progressive if society can make sure the independency of this, the independency of the value of this political party. And the only thing that we can make sure the independency is by doing it by yourself, by having your own internal income, rather than getting a donation from other people. We say that if you compromise your value through like accepting the donation from corporation, it will make society knows that it will make society say that this independency value that they like at the very first time is you compromise it, and this is why society know that you will compromise that, because everyone know that donation that people have is not the interest will still there, and even if they support you as with same ideology, it is still just a temporary and again political stance is just a temporary, and it will at the end of the day will change the political vibe on those political parties. We said that I am telling about the interest of the corporation and high net individual, and also the interest of the political progressive political party and progressive political candidate. We say that this corporation have the interest, and this is very harmful, which is they want feedback from this political party. We said that it is harmful in a way that it will change the rooted value that these progressive political parties have at the very first time, and also they are not just giving the aid because they have a good intention. Even if you have good intention, even if this high net individual have a good intention, then again the political stance that each individual have or each individual have is just temporary, and then if you think that this high net individual have this temporary political stance, and then if they think that you are not giving much more benefit to you, then they will think like how to make this donation that I already give you will beneficial to you. That's why they will, be harmful to the independency of the progressive political party at the very first place. Even if we have interest as a political party to gain vote, to gain majority vote, but this is again the way to get election, the way to get voted by other people is to accommodate the interest of the current problem that happened. We believe that you can become more progressive if you can accommodate the interest of current problem, not just by doing commercial ad that the money you get is from the donation. You can do the commercial ad even if without this donation that they give. So then I conclude that what we're trying to say in here is that there are still the interest of the corporation and high net individual that will hamper the ideology of these progressive political parties, and then the rooted value that these progressive political parties or candidates have is the one that we need to stick on, and it will hamper the ideology if we accepting those donations. So I believe that progressive political parties should not accept those donations. Thank you.
they refuse to accept help from those high people
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, Progressive Political Party. Progressive Political Party is a political party that just been born. Some like PSI is very new. Why do they make new political parties? Is because this group of people think that the current political parties cannot deliver their aspirations. So that is why they want to make this political party. And why is it progressive? Because it usually talks about the concerns of this new era. For example, like PSI, they want to fight the patriarch that happens in Indonesia, and that is why I will bring two substantives, and my rebuttal will be integrated in those substantive. First, they keep saying that these political parties, if accepting donations from these high net individuals and corporations, will eventually makes these political parties forget their values, because these companies will want their values to be projected through this new political party. But we think that because they are new, they will screen those donators, and also these companies, these high net individuals, which are influencers in the society, like high net individuals usually are in the current situation is like a YouTuber, social media influencer, and so on. They have a very such high influence on the millennials, and that's why they would want to donate their money freely. Like, I mean, donation is something that you give freely, not and by the current terms is that you don't accept anything back. But that's why they will donate their monies, their hard-earned money, to political parties that have the same visions as they have. Why would they want to keep donating their hard-earned money to something that is not something that does not have the same value as they have? Why do they go through the hardship of like until forcing them to change their value? Because if they want, they can just either make a new political party or switch. I mean, they are businesses. What they do is not in political situation. That's why they need this political party to help them. And this is a very progressive society. Everything is known in the social media. Even if this political party eventually becomes confused and suddenly change direction, people will eventually know what is the reason of this political party changing their direction, and because of that, they may lose supporters, potential supporters, and current supporters. Also, if these companies and these high net individuals is known to force these political parties, force them with unknown, like they say they want to switch donations. So this political party say, don't run away. We'll change to accommodate your interest. People will also eventually know, and this can lead to some this can decrease these companies and high net individuals' values. Like, for example, their stocks can decrease and so on. And we think that's why their point about that cannot stand. Also, moving on to my second substantive is that these are politicians. What they do is making policy. What they do is they take the role of becoming the leader of this certain group or this certain group means people, nations, and so on. What they do is not quite making money. For example, like you can see the leader of the
they take their money comes from taxpayers, not something that you do like trading something, doing business something. That's why these political parties and progressive political parties is usually still very small, still very unknown. That's why they need monies to help their ads, to help socializing their interest and so on. Because what they need to focus first is to tell their aspirations, not to make money. If they want to, while they're doing political, while they're shouting their aspirations, while doing some business, that means that they don't have one goal. They have different goals. And if they say that they want to do the traditional way by by spreading their political parties through mouth, from mouth to mouth, they still also need money. They have to make flyers. They have to buy what's that? Toa and so on. They still need money. That is why we think that these progressive political parties still needs those donators, because first they are not money-making professions, and also they have this these companies and high net individuals who have the same goal, we can help them achieve their interests. So that's why we are proud to oppose. Thank you. Am I showing that?
Ms. Gabriel spent 6 minutes and 31 seconds. Now I call the first speaker of the closing government, Mr. Firman Time.
My point here, how do I refuse the donation after the progress of political parties? Ladies and gentlemen, donation by corporation or high net individuals is a form of supporting system for political parties. Political parties actually always find better ways to run their political program, either to campaign, either to practice the social care, and so on and so forth. That is why, start from the beginning, political parties always seeking for money nature, ladies and gentlemen. And that is okay, because as the political parties, in order for you to get more voters and to stay in parliament, your money is not enough just by relying on the internal financial of the political parties itself. The stronger the support of these progressive political parties, and at the end of the day, it will create less progress to these parties, and moreover, it could impact the progressivity of the parties at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. But moreover, refuse the donation, cut the relation between the political parties and the corporation, and it is bad. We also have to understand that the actual why corporations want to engage with some political parties. In their one scenario, these corporations want to donate because they are having a tendency to find opportunity to enter in the political ground. Ladies and gentlemen, first response, we said that is okay. At least in our side, we do not try to limit the opportunity of the parties to get sources of money, but moreover, we have not limit the capacity of every individual in the corporation, for example, if they want to enter in the political parties, ladies and gentlemen. Because the political parties means that no such a limitation what kind of your background, what is your background, and so on and so forth. But moreover, we have to admit that sometimes the corporation want to donate because they are having same goals and same values with these kinds of parties. It's okay because we are.
Ladies and gentlemen, opening have conceded that some companies are bad, some companies are good. But we are going to extend this debate by explaining to you why by accepting donation is a form of accepting the principle that they have, and that accepting donations is a form of condoning towards these kinds of principles. We are also going to extend this debate by explaining to you what will be the impact towards our voters right now and our effectivity in trying to get more voters and get our seat in parliament in the future, ladies and gentlemen. So our team will be more practical in this debate. Before going to our argument, one direct rebuttal towards team opposition. So their biggest trauma is where will we get money? First response, in the current status quo, as a party and a candidate, we still have so many alternatives to get money. The fact that we have parties means that we have a very structural system to get money. In the current status quo, we can actually go through making so many lobbyist group towards organizations that are actually liberals and actually progressive. The fact that right now PSE are able to thrive and get funding not because they are getting from companies, but they have so many supporters and have so many politicians that have the same principle as them, ladies and gentlemen. So I think in the current status quo, we have so many supporting system to get these kinds of money, ladies and gentlemen. But secondly, even if we're talking about parties and candidates that have less money, ladies and gentlemen, we think it's okay not accepting them. Why? Because in current status quo, we have our own strategy to get supporters and get these kinds of support and votes without using so much money, ladies and gentlemen. That fact that right now, PSE and most progressive parties are not making so much campaigns and make the biggest flyers in the current streets, they are going to direct approach towards progressive voters. They are making advertisements that are minimalist, that are actually are able to appeal towards voters that are actually having the same principle with them, ladies and gentlemen. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, the most important thing to understand here is that the current strategy as ourselves, our best scenario as even if less capable parties is that we can use strategy that is appealing towards our constituents that right now doesn't need that much money, ladies and gentlemen. So we think in the current status quo, it's much better without using their alternative. Moving on to my argument. One, why accepting donations are not in line with our parties, and accepting donations is a form of trying to condone to these kinds of principles. Ladies and gentlemen, right now you have to understand that firstly, companies and high net individuals are most likely not in line with our principle. Why? First, because they are constantly exposed to factors that pushes them to do these kinds of atrocious things that are actually not in line with our principles. Such as first, companies in the current status quo most likely always try to hide the cases of sexual assault in their companies because they're afraid that their image will be destroyed in the moment where they open up their case, gentlemen. So I think the direct characterization that companies always want to protect themselves are going to comes into the conclusion that they are not able to champion our progressive principle in the very first place, gentlemen. And secondly, it's just the same with high net individuals. They're always afraid to follow the stance of our progressive values because they might think that it's dangerous to take a very scandalous stance in order to defend their self-livelihood in their own position, ladies and gentlemen. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, companies and high net individuals have so many incentive for them in order to make sure that they are unable to champion progressive votes, ladies and gentlemen. But secondly, even if, ladies and gentlemen, they are saying that some companies are good and some companies are not this evil, ladies and gentlemen, we think it's still going to be bad. Why? Because if you see, ladies and gentlemen, historically, the existence of corporations and high net individuals are very contributive towards the oppressive system that in the current status quo we are opposing, ladies and gentlemen. The existence of corporations that are making the culture that men are positioned in the companies are like this and women are like this are making up the patriarchal system right now we are opposing, ladies and gentlemen. The fact that right now, in the past, high net consumptive people are making the consumptive culture and making the divide between poor people and rich people, gentlemen, are making the culture of why in current status quo there are so many people that are not having the good welfare system in order for them to protect themselves, gentlemen. So I think in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, even if they are good, right now, we think, ladies and gentlemen, their system by itself is a system that in the past are contributing towards our suffering in the current status quo, ladies and gentlemen. But the most important question then is, why by accepting it is a backtrack in our principle in the current status quo? Ladies and gentlemen, in the current status quo, our strategy in order to protect our principle is to disattach ourselves from that system of oppressiveness, ladies and gentlemen. So I think first, ladies and gentlemen, by accepting that donation, we are affiliating ourselves into those kinds of companies. This affiliation comes into the practical implication such as these companies can say, oh, I support those kinds of parties, thus I am the same with them, ladies and gentlemen. This is not good because we are affiliating ourselves into this kinds of oppressive system. Thus the implication, ladies and gentlemen, there is an inconsistent principle that we are trying to champion in the current status quo. But secondly, ladies and gentlemen, I think that even if it's not that very bad, it's going to be more pressure by the companies, ladies and gentlemen, because in the current status quo, notice that companies and high net individuals have a pragmatic expectation, ladies and gentlemen. How do this translate, ladies and gentlemen? The moment they give us money, they have more leverage, and that leverage can be used as a threat towards us. This translate into, they can threat us to say, if you do not champion and you do not wanting to promote my principle as a company, I'm going to say that I give you money and you are not actually helping me, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very bad scenario and very bad public image as our parties, because it will be seen that we are not going to be we are not helping our people that are actually giving us money, ladies and gentlemen. So I think in conclusion, first, it's affiliating with our oppressive system of power, but secondly, we can be threatened more by this kind of companies. But secondly, ladies and gentlemen, why our voters will be lessened? We are going to be lessened in progressive voters because our progressive voters are voting us based on the comparative advantage that our parties are actually able to promote our principle of progressiveness. In the current status quo, if we have more probability to follow companies' ability to champion their cause, ladies and gentlemen, our voters are going to criticize us and say that you are not inherent and you are not actually in line with your principle, ladies and gentlemen. The most likelihood of implication is they are going to challenge us and say that we are going to not vote you because you are having no comparative advantage other than other voters. So most likely it will be the same, such as when Kamala Harris are able to affiliate to some centrism voters. It says other progressive voters says that this is not good, thus you must be not vote for these kinds of individuals. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to have our principle to be protected, and secondly, we can not be able to protect our constituents in the future. We think CG win this debate. Thank you.
Mr. Firman spent 7 minutes and 28 seconds. Now I call the first speaker at the closing opposition, Mr. Hasanuddin.
For example, database about what happened in society. You don't need a database from you actually can take a look at yourself and actually observe yourself about what you need in this country. Also, they're talking about the more
Pasang bareng-bareng. Tipis ke bajuku. Weh, jangan deh. Enggak, susah kita. Tak pasang mi. First of all, engagement to the open government's characterization in regards to the main agenda of Progressive Party, which is independency. First of all, we think that independency is inherently not the main agendas of the Progressive Party. We think that the main priority that is trying to be achieved by this Progressive Party is to expanding their network, more exposures of their value, and get higher influence to the society. We think that owing to this kinds of condition, they need companions that they can cooperate with, ladies and gentlemen. Thus, we believe that in this reason, I'm going to prove why this is better in our side through my substantive material. But second of all, even if independency is their main agenda, we think that independence is their main agenda, and corporations or high net individual is inherently self-interest, relies much on their self-interest. We think that even self-interest is acceptable, because, ladies and gentlemen, prior to their kinds of donation, self-interest of this company or high net individuals has been influenced by the exposure of these progressive political parties, ladies and gentlemen. What we believe is that prior to their kinds of donation, these kinds of corporation is inherently have been agreed to that kinds of progressive movement, to that kinds of progressive things that has been tried to be achieved by these kinds of progressive parties. That's we believe that even if they try to put their self-interest, we don't think that self-interest is going to be a clash their kinds of the interest of that progressive political parties. That's we believe that it's going to be failed. But moreover, engagement to what Firman have said. First of all, they say is that this is not going to be in line with progressive principle, because corporations are frequently being oppressive, ladies and gentlemen. Well, here's the thing. First of all, we need to recognize why oppressive things is conducted by the corporations. We think that oppressive thing conducted by the corporations, oppressive things conducted by company happens out of many reasons, be it for intentionally or unintentionally, ladies and gentlemen. We think that through this kinds of donation, this is going to be the way this company compensate for this kinds of mistakes, because there is still higher possibility that this company, once they realize that they have been doing oppressive thing, the way they compensate for this kind of mistake is that through giving donations, in order that progressive political parties can run their value more massively. But, ladies and gentlemen, but moreover, when they say that accepting donations means you support this oppressive, first of all, we don't think that there are any kinds of tangible harm coming from this kinds of thing, because even if you accepting donation, it is not inherently mean that progressive political party is going to make this oppressive become wider, ladies and gentlemen, become higher. We don't think that this is going to influence the numbers of that, the quantity and intensity of this oppressiveness. Thus, we believe that there are no tangible harm inside of that. But moreover, this not tangible harm is going to be lost by the tangible benefit that is going, the tangible benefit that the progressive party is going to be able to use the money in order that they can run their campaign. Is going to be explained more on my material. But third of all, when the open government says that these kinds of things, these kinds of donation is not going to be a long-term influence. First of all, we don't think that we can count this argumentation, because there are no any kinds of explanation why progressive party should only gain benefit when it is a long-term benefit, ladies and gentlemen. Because we think that even if it is eventually short-term benefit, we think that it is will still be okay. They need to explain why a long-term benefit, why short-term benefit is harm. But moreover, we don't think that these kinds of donation, even if there are no any kinds of movement to follow up this donation, we don't even if donation is only conducted once and then stop after that, we don't think that it is going to be a short-term benefit. It is still a long-term benefit, because once these progressive parties accept the donation, they can use the money to, for example, publish more booklet to deliver their values, and also facilitating any social campaign, facilitating any public discourses that is going to be end up where it will influence people to reshare informations that their voters will increase. We think that disseminations of information is their ultimate goal. We don't think that this is short-term benefit, ladies and gentlemen. Extensions. First of all, I'm going to prove why rejecting donation is problematic. Second of all, why the party's agenda will run better with these kinds of donation, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, why rejecting donation is problematic. We need to understand that in certain scenarios, corporations and high net individuals are also coming from progressive background, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot neglect that kind of fact, because the progressive parties has been exposed their value very widely, that it can also influence the people coming from the privileged background. But, ladies and gentlemen, there is a thing: the fact that these kinds of high net individuals have the obligations to lead the company as a CEO, for example, or their hectic business activity, for example, hampers them to contribute directly to the movement, hampers them to engage directly to the social campaign, ladies and gentlemen. Thus, we believe that through this kinds of donation, this is going to be the exclusive way to also contribute to the movement of this progressive party. We don't think that it's okay to reject that kinds of donation, ladies and gentlemen. What is happen to if you reject that kind of donation is the donation, because donation is the only way they can contribute to the progressive movement. Rejecting it, it means that progressive party backlash the essence, backlash their goal, where they want to provide equal platform to everyone to establish to social justice, ladies and gentlemen. Those believe that it is not okay to it is not okay for progressive political party to run these kinds of things, ladies and gentlemen. But moreover, second, thus we believe that owing to this kinds of thing, rejecting donation is very problematic to begin with. But moreover, last of all, but the very important part is that why the party's agenda will run better with this donation. Here's the thing: the characterizations or the tendencies of you. Once you donate into one kinds of institutions, that you are going to ensure that that kinds of donation is not going to run uselessly, ladies and gentlemen. You are going to ensure that that donation is utilized based on what you propose it to do, ladies and gentlemen. If there is a donations coming from the privileged background, coming from the high net individuals are used, donators will have interest to ensure that the donation doesn't go uselessly. This is going to be very good because once the influential people contribute directly to the movement, it means that the people will follow that kinds of thing, will believe that value more easily, ladies and gentlemen. Because this is a very problem that is being suffered by the progressive value to be exposed. Because people who expose is coming from underprivileged background, that is less likely to be believed by the society, ladies and gentlemen. But moreover, the fact that these kinds of companies are influential communities, the fact that they are influential, it means that once they conduct one kind of action, let's say for example they give their donations to the progressive party, it means that the people who are sit under their influential characterization is going to perceive this kinds of donation as something right to begin with, ladies and gentlemen. So it is not going to close the possibility that other company, that other entity, other communities are also going to contribute directly to, are also going to donate or contribute to the progressive party. But moreover, I think that's all. Thank you.
Mr. Fajrin spent 7 minutes and 20 seconds. And I call the second speaker, the closing government. Ms. Fira, time is yours.
Entire opposition isn't true. They say that the harm that the government could have is only how we compromise our principle, ladies and gentlemen. But we have told you that we have tangible harm that we can possibly get in our side of the house, because how the progressive party operates their campaign and lobbying to society and people are based on the value and the principle itself, ladies and gentlemen. They like us because we are exclusive. We are the only one who bring the thing and your interest, ladies and gentlemen. So when the lobbying is inconsistent, the one who are liberal, for example, who vote and give their voice towards this specific particular progressive party will think that I gave you my money, I gave you my voice, why you have the different agenda like how we were back then, ladies and gentlemen. So in the end of the day, they will just see that progressive party are just the same as other parties, right? The thing that we also need to concern in today's debate is how we have to make a concession, right? We also admit that we have good companies and we also have bad companies, but inherently, ladies and gentlemen, whether the companies are good or bad, it is very wrong for the progressive party to opt into the good companies and the bad companies by default, right? Because we cannot just cherry pick, because how
people will see the company is always just the same. Like Firman, I have already told you that historically they are the one who contribute to the construction of patriarchal values and disenfranchised women and other marginalized groups, ladies and gentlemen. Second of all, even if you are individuals or you are sponsored by a company, even if they are good, but in the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we will be always affiliated with that certain company who sponsor us, ladies and gentlemen, because in the future, if they have the bad image, we will also get the impact of that, ladies and gentlemen, because we are affiliated with them, ladies and gentlemen. But even if in the end of the day, the company still want to give positive agenda, for example, this exactly, they agree on the idea that progressive cannot be independent in deciding their interest in agenda if, for example, they have been in the seat of the parliament, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, we believe that they still do not So two clashes in my today's two issues, right? First on the voters and second of all on the budgeting, right? So opposition talk about how more capitals means getting more voters. The problem in here is that first of all, no explanation how it would happen, right? Why voters will eventually go to the progressive political parties just because they have money or having certain corporation backing them up, ladies and gentlemen. Second of all, they also fail to analyze which voters who will go to the parties eventually, which voters that can be persuaded just because you have this certain corporation. So how's the analysis of voters in CG, right? First of all, we told you that progressive political parties have their own segmentation of voters that will not be easily persuaded by money. What they sell is value and idea which is exclusive. Progressive voters will most likely only siding to people who can represent them, ladies and gentlemen. But second of all, the exposure that they demand, that they say the society need upon this particular party does not rely on money basis. The campaign can be shared voluntarily. How is that so? Because the mass the party has is on the basis of supports in the value, not pragmatism of getting percentage of seat in parliament, ladies and gentlemen. Progressive party are different with current popular party we had. For example, like PDIP and Democrat or etc., right? If in 2004 the popular opinion is about corruption, they go to corruption. In 2004, if the popular idea of society is country development, they will go to country development. This is not exclusive because you are changing in area, right? The exclusive thing that the progressive party has is how you can be progressive and proposing progressive value and representing our society, right? Our voter basis is a group of volunteer people because what they concern is how other society could understand the values and message they want. Not pragmatism of how much seat you want in parliament, ladies and gentlemen. They don't want feedback. They want at least you represent them inside of the status quo, right? For example, what we have in India, right? The gay marriage has been legalized. It starts from the conservative that are the conservative people who move slowly and at least they represent people inside of their party. And we also think that they have to move slowly if they still have less budgeting, right? So in the end of the day, the voters we can still champion the voters inside of status quo even if we have the less budget. But how is the comparison, right? The comparison is how would they behave in the end of the day if they go to the parliament seat, right? In worst scenario when we still have to take the corporation budget and how in the end of the day we still lose our voters, right? So in the end of the day we will still lose our voters because reasons on the value and the sense of reliability can no longer be exist and the promise of protection can no longer be exist. They will lose voters who are the victims of sexual people, right? People who are raped, for example, in status quo by the people who work in corporation, for example, who does not want to apologize if they cannot be proceeded to the court, ladies and gentlemen. So, which is exactly their most loyal voters, ladies and gentlemen, and supporters in status quo. If you end up opt into the corporation which image is inherently like that, we will lose our loyal voters in the end of the day. But in the end of the day, how the party will betray the voters is that because, for example, you cannot also guarantee that for example, if they can with the money they can sit in the parliament, right? We say that no guarantee that the values can be kept in future, right? Because assume party success, even PSI can only promise 4% in seat, for example. It is small, and you probably compromise and you lose in the discussion. So the comparison is how would they behave when sitting in parliament through their own money, even if it is possibly equal
goal in our side of the house to have less power in the seat, at least the party consciously acknowledge that their only burden is to pass their agenda and their progressive value, ladies and gentlemen. Comparatively, in their side of the house, they have to think the expectation of the corporation again, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, they will divide their focus in the end of the day. So second issue, right, on the current budgeting and how it is actually enough to maintain the voters and campaigning about the idea. We see, ladies and gentlemen, there is a division of how they use their budget, right? The budget division in parties, for example, to spend it on speakers, flyers, advertisement is on their own money. So how most likely they will use the donation, right? They will needs, for example, they will use it to make more ads, for example. Like what we have in current status quo is how conventional parties use advertisement and shown it massively to TV and social media. Why they do that, right? Because they realize that their values are just similar to others. For example, Islamic parties, their values are just similar. So the only way for them to gather more voters is how to be more exposed to voters. We don't need that inside of status quo, ladies and gentlemen, because our value and our idea that we propose to them is exclusive. No other parties will support and will propose the idea like how progressive wants, because that's not popular opinion that people have, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, in the end of the day, even if you don't have as much as budget in the current status quo, you still can be able to maintain your voters, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Ms. Vira spent 7 minutes and 2 seconds to conclude the debate. I call the second speaker of the closing opposition, Mr. Farid Maibisors.
Ladies and gentlemen, sorry belum. ulang. Nggak jalan ke stopwatch-nya. 1, 2. Even party or even the institution or even organization had already become the basic principle, ladies and gentlemen. So even if any kinds of donation or even if any kinds of things that you're giving them, it will not directly means that it will change the principle of particular party, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, the government side of the house had already tried to bring the idea that by accepting this donation is actually we lose this principle and also lose the independence, ladies and gentlemen. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, it is it's also intertwined into my rebuttal for the opening government, which is the independency of the political party will be hampered, ladies and gentlemen. We said no, because the harm will exist if the intervention will be in terms of the intervention in legitimate regulation and also the purpose of the political party and how they should be worked, ladies and gentlemen. But here, ladies and gentlemen, donation that we aim in here is that to help them in giving the prosperity without any kind of intervention in terms of that, ladies and gentlemen. For example, the party or some particular progressive party will not directly not support LGBT just because you accept the donation for people who not support the LGBT, for example, ladies and gentlemen. There will be such as, had already said, the self-interest that had been united at the very first began, because this progressive political party also should be aware, because if they change their interest, they also will lose their voters, they also will lose their supporter in the society, ladies and gentlemen. So we think that it's still good to affiliate with this donator, because at very least, even both have their own interest. At least this HackNet provide the good access, the significant access, which is still in touch to spread in the society, ladies and gentlemen. And also, they say that this accepting monies also have the alternative from the organization, for example. But we think there is no argument why this alternative is quite accessible as the donator itself, ladies and gentlemen. Why we say it's not really accessible? Because it's need longer process of the structural that should be followed, and also need the long discussion, and also need a long time for lobbying, ladies and gentlemen. Why it's not really engaged with what the progressive political party should done, because this long time process, this process, they need to create it's not in line. Principally, this progressive need more fast time to create the bigger circle, ladies and gentlemen. For example, they have their own target at the time like this. They should conduct this program, and that time like this they should conduct this. But without this clear funding income that they will get, it will obstacle the agenda that they will gun, ladies and gentlemen, and also obstacle the process of it's going on, ladies and gentlemen. And so they say that by accepting donation, it can means that we same with the other party, ladies and gentlemen, because if this high net name brought into the society, it also will brought the name of this progressive party, ladies and gentlemen. But we think it's not exclusive, because the alternative that they provide is also through the organization, because this organization also have a probability to grow their name in the society, ladies and gentlemen. So their arguments also is not exclusive, I think, ladies and gentlemen. Also, they think about the long term that probably will that is not exist through this donation. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, they not explain to us what kinds of the sustainability needed of this party to begin with to start their organization, ladies and gentlemen. Here we're trying to explain they can be sustainability if they have a donator clear and also have a image in the society, because this donate itself should be their follow up for the donator itself on how their donation will running under the party itself, ladies and gentlemen. They said it will not be long term because they are feel guilty of this particular party, ladies and gentlemen. But we said no, because both outside of because this donation is basically not principally you should pay back to this into the same things itself, ladies and gentlemen. And also the argument about the political anomaly, it's also not exclusive in this case. So going to my substantive, which is I'm talking about how this need a big capital and also how this need a big influence towards to this high net itself, ladies and gentlemen. Why need big capital? Because there are so many agenda that will conduct by this progressive agenda. Not only promote, not only campaign, not only advertisement. What this progressiveness is gaining name from the society is from the compensation that is exists in the progressive party itself, ladies and gentlemen. What kind of compensation I mean in here is that, for example, they're supporting for the feminist movement, for example. Then there is a victim of the raping, for example, then to gaining the voice of these marginal people, they giving the compensation as funding or so on and so far, and also or even the psychological treatment in a hospital to help them to gaining their more voice, ladies and gentlemen. So that is why they need more capital to get this compensation. And also by not receiving this, by rejecting this donation is actually totally bad. Why? They will significantly get less income, ladies and gentlemen. And also if they rejecting the donation of the particular high net, it also means that they are not in line with the particular high net, for example. And why it's hamper if you have a notion that you're not receiving the donation? No, thank you, because meaning that what their intention that also good, which is had already explained, that influencer also have a good name, that you are have a different narrative, ladies and gentlemen, in the end of the day. And also why it's need long influencer, because in the worst case scenario, the influencer will be decreased, ladies and gentlemen. For example, when it comes to need a very long time of processes, the people in the circle itself will lose their trust in this progressive time by time, ladies and gentlemen, because there are no significant changes. The impact is the decrease of the followers and lack of the progressiveness itself, ladies and gentlemen. In the worst case, there are no the progressive movement itself, and nobody cares of this movement. This progressive phase, ladies and gentlemen. And also this influencer is also important because it's the most approachable way for them to engage with the status quo. What kind of the status quo of the spread information, because this is really important to begin with, to share those values to society. So that's why I brought to oppose this motion. Thank you.